Hey guys, hey, how are you? Alicia Cross here, and if we have not met yet, I am a yoga instructor, a personal trainer, and a wellness coach. And for over 18 years, I've been helping clients just like you reach your goals, get healthier so you can be happier. And I'm going to plug in my phone because I forgot to do that. So today we're talking about muscle soreness. So do you judge your workouts by how sore you get? So if you're really sore, do you think it was a good workout? Or if you're not even sore, do you wonder if it even counted? So we're going to talk about that, muscle soreness. If you are here with me, say hi, give me a wave so I know you're here. And whether you have a question or a comment, please post it anytime. I'd love to keep this conversation going. So muscle soreness, what is it? It is commonly said that the muscle soreness is lactic acid buildup in your muscles, but that is actually a myth. And where that originated from was some study that was done back in the 1800s where these guys ran down an animal until it collapsed, and when they dissected it, they found that it had a lot of lactic acid. So they thought, well, the lactic acid must be what causes you to go to failure. And then we sort of extrapolated that, well, it must be that lactic acid that's making us feel the burn and that's making us sore the next day. But actually, we really think that it's more your nervous system that shuts things down to protect you when you get to that point of failure. And we have found that lactic acid is, yes, it's a byproduct. It is given off when you work out, especially very intense workouts, but it is also a fuel source. So when you do really intense sprint, you do something that is a short burst, very intense for a short period of time, even a really heavy lift, like your max, 1 rep, 3 rep, you're going to release lactic acid, but that is immediately taken back up again by other cells, especially things like your heart and your diaphragm. They don't have a lot of energy reserve, so they will use that lactic acid. This is one of the benefits of interval training. So when you go hard, you go all out, say you do a sprint on the spin bike, you will produce that lactic acid. And then when you drop the resistance and your speed back down into a lower intensity, an off interval, you will then be using and uptaking that lactic acid. So after your workout, there is no more lactic acid left in your system. You have used that up. So the idea that the lactic acid is causing you to be sore is just a myth. So what is causing you to be sore? It is microtrauma. It is tears to the muscles. You've damaged the muscle through your workout. You've kicked on that inflammatory response. Immune system response has come into action. Things are coming in there to clean up the damage and to repair. And you want that. That is beneficial. That is what then builds up your muscles. This is why you should not, I hate to use the word should, but this is why you should not take anti-inflammatory for muscle soreness, because you're interfering with that inflammation process and that cleanup process and the repair and the build, and you want that. So you may think like, well, I thought inflammation was bad. Inflammation is not bad, just like stress is not bad. It's chronic inflammation and chronic stress that are really bad for your body, your nervous system, and your mind. But you want that inflammation response. It's there for a reason. And the inflammation response is things like, swelling, heat, redness, soreness, and that's what's happening in your muscles because everything's going in there to clean up the damage, repair, and that's how you get stronger. Soreness, and we call this soreness DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. So you'll see people talking about or posting about DOMS. And normally what happens is it's not the day after your workout, right? It's 2 days later that you really feel it, because that's when the cleanup started. Everything went to work to try to heal those tears that happened in your muscle fibers. You have to break down the muscle to build it up. So that is what is happening. You're breaking it down, the repair process is happening, you're building it back up. And that's what makes you sore. Okay, so some things that will, specific things that will make you sore are anything you do new. So if you are new to exercise in general, you're going to be sore. If you do something new and different, even if it's not exercise related. Some of you've gone on vacation and you walk a ton and then you say, your feet and your calves hurt because that was suddenly just a bunch more volume, a bunch more reps than you were used to. You're doing a lot more moving. So doing something different. Doing something in higher reps typically makes us more sore. So if you are working on building max strength, you're going to do those 1 rep, 3 rep, maybe 5 rep sets. Typically, 3 or less is not going to make you sore the next day. That's how you build strength, so you can lift those heavier and heavier weights. For most of you who are working on general strength, that's not the range you're working in. You're going to be working more 12, 15, maybe 20. So typically those higher reps, when you get into like 20, 25, they're going to make you more sore, especially if you're not used to them. So if you do a workout that has really high reps, or if you're doing something for time, you have to do something for a minute, you get a lot of reps in, that may make you sore. So higher reps is typically going to make you more sore. Doing anything different, anything that's different or new, and different can be just the slightest change. So if you have been used to doing maybe a body weight squat, and now you hold a kettlebell out in front and you do a goblet squat. Maybe you're used to doing goblet squats and now you put the barbell on your back and you're doing a back squat. It's just changing the dynamic of that exercise just enough that could make you sore. Maybe you are learning how to squat to full range, and as you get your hips down to your knees or below your knees, you're getting more soreness in your muscles. And it's important to say that this soreness is not pain. This is not joint pain. This is muscle soreness, and I think you know the difference. I really, really encourage you not to tell me that you're in pain if you have muscle soreness, because if you have joint pain, we really need to deal with that in a different way than we would deal with muscle soreness. So if you're feeling pain after a workout, that's something you have to address. If you are feeling muscle soreness after a workout, that's what we're talking about here. So doing anything different, adding in different exercises, more reps, like we talked about. So doing anything that you're not used to doing can cause you to be sore. Just moving your body in a different way, having a different piece of equipment. If you've never done Pilates before, you take Pilates for the first time, you might be really sore. If you've always done Pilates and you go to yoga might make you sore. So just changing things up, that could make you sore. And what really makes us sore is the eccentric part of the motion. So in any movement, we have 3 parts. We have the concentric, the isometric, and the eccentric. So the easiest way to visualize this is with a bicep curl. So imagine that you are holding the weight or you're holding the band and you are curling up. You're doing the bicep curl. That is the concentric motion. When you get to the top and you squeeze, that's isometric. So iso means same, no change. When you're going down, when you're resisting gravity, when you're resisting the weight, that is the eccentric portion of the movement. That is what will make you sore, that eccentric. You are way stronger in the eccentric portion. If I gave you a really heavy dumbbell for your bicep curl, you would be able to resist that weight and go down very slowly. You would be able to control that, but you wouldn't be able to get that weight back up again. You have much more strength eccentrically. But maybe you can just kind of visualize, that muscle is trying to stretch, but at the same time, the weight is pulling on it, and that kind of push-pull, that's what gives you those micro tears, those micro trauma to the muscle, and that's what will make you sore. So you may think, well, why then? Why do we do that part of the movement? Great question. So number 1, back in the day, before there was really all the science behind exercise, a personal trainer was the strongest guy, and I say guy for a reason. He was the strongest guy at the gym, or he was the biggest guy at the gym, and somebody said, show me how to do that. I'll pay you. Show me how to look like you. And what the bodybuilders, so people who are trying to look a certain way, have a certain physique, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilders figured out that it was that eccentric portion that helped make them bigger. So they called it the negative. So they knew you needed that slow negative. They found out before we ever studied things or looked at things under a microscope, they figured out that it was that slow eccentric, that negative portion that helped to make them bigger. And that's because they were creating more trauma, and then recovery happened, inflammatory response, and all that repair, and their muscles got bigger. Yes, they were doing some things that were supplementing that activity, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But they figured out that it was the negative. So the negative is important because this is what is so good for repairing. So if you have injury, you're going to really need to focus on that eccentric portion. If you do not focus on eccentric, that leads to problems down the line. So if you are never doing that slow resistance, if you are throwing the weight up and dropping it, throwing the weight up and dropping it, you're going to have problems. This happens a lot in Olympic weightlifting because there's no eccentric portion, there's no slow down, right? If you watch the Olympic weightlifters, when the Olympics roll around, they get that weight up, and what do? They throw it on the floor. There's no down. So that can cause a lot of problems in the joints because the muscles they get really strong at that concentric motion, at that explosive motion, but they don't have that eccentric. When you are walking downhill, one of my clients has talked about knee pain walking downhill. You need a lot of eccentric. The eccentric is putting on the brakes, using your muscles and not the joints. Eccentric is resisting forces, resisting gravity. That's what's going to keep your joints healthy and happy. If you don't have that, your joints are taking on a lot more force through the movements you make throughout the day. And all of your joints, your back, your knees, your hips, your ankles, and that's what causes problems. So eccentric is necessary to avoid pain. So you need the soreness to avoid the pain. The eccentric is what's really good for connective tissue, like tendons and ligaments. So all of your muscles turn into tendons and connect to the bone. When we are young, our muscles and our tendons are growing at the same rate. So when you are building strength as a kid, if kids are in gymnastics or in different sports, they're usually not going to end up with tendon issues, right? Rarely see kids walking around, complaining about their, tennis elbow or their low back pain or their knee joints. I mean, yes, there's absolutely some traumatic injuries that can happen, but for the most part, kids are pretty resilient when you put when you put them into a sport. Adults, on the other hand, you go pick up something new, you go start lifting weights, or you go play tennis or golf, and suddenly, your joint is yelling at you. And that's because your muscle is growing faster than your tendon, because after 40, tendon issues start. So we need that slow eccentric portion of the movement to keep all of the joints healthy. So if you are having, say, elbow issues, you need to make sure that you're doing exercises for the muscles that act on the elbow joint, like bicep and tricep, with bands, with weights, with the TRX, and you're focused on that slow eccentric so that you're strengthening those tendons so you don't have joint pain later. And if you have joint pain, definitely see a physical therapist, but those exercises are going to help you with that slow eccentric movement because it is repairing the connective tissue, the joints, the tendons, and the ligaments. And if you are working with bands, you will really notice the benefit of the eccentric because you're going to resist the band snapping back. So you're slowly resisting the band. You may be able to feel this eccentric movement with the band more than you can with the weight, but both are good. But I think that's really why physical therapists started working with bands. One, they're inexpensive, but also you really resist the band pulling you back. You can feel that the whole way. Whereas maybe with the weight, it's not you can't really notice it as much. So bands are great for that. Eccentric, resisting. Okay. So that's what makes you sore. It breaks things down so you build them back up. And building back up does not necessarily mean that you're going to get bigger. Again, we think of those bodybuilders in the past. They were not natural. So what we see a bodybuilder, what they look like, the average person is not going to look like that going to the gym. So you don't want to resist this eccentric motion because you think it's going to make you big and bulky. That's just not possible. It's not within you to become big and bulky. Don't worry about that. But it is how you build that lean muscle so that you look better, you have more energy, you're burning more calories all day long, you're helping to maintain your weight. So all of this can contribute to your goals, whatever they are. Okay, so let's take this back. So if you are sore after your workout, does it mean you had a good workout? If you're not sore, does it mean it wasn't worth it? It depends. Soreness is not a great indicator to measure the effectiveness of your workout. You really want to use other things, and that comes back to what your goals are. So if you are sore after your workout, it doesn't necessarily mean you had a great workout. You just did something different, or you did a whole bunch of something new. So remember, I talk about if you went on vacation, did a ton of walking, and now your calves hurt, you wouldn't really say like, oh, I had such a great workout. My calves are so sore from sightseeing all day. So the soreness is not an indicator. It just means you perhaps did something different. If you are sore, it could mean that you did enough to do something. So let's say you take Pilates and your abs are sore. You probably got a pretty good ab workout. If you're not sore, that doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't have a great workout. So this is where you go back to your goals. What are your goals? Are you trying to lift heavier weights? Remember, we talked about if you're going for that max strength and you're lifting like 1 to 3 times and you want that 1 rep max to go up and up and up and up. If it keeps going up and you're not getting sore, don't worry about it. That's not an issue. If your goals are to lose weight or maintain your weight, and that is happening with the workouts that you're doing, whether or not you're sore, then don't use soreness as the gauge for how good your workout is. How about joint pain? Are you trying to alleviate or prevent pain anywhere in your body? Well, whether or not you're having soreness, if you notice that your joint pain is improving, your back feels better, knees feel better, hips, elbows, shoulders, whatever you're working on, great, you're good. Okay, if you are not reaching your goals, then there's other work to be done. So you may be trying to get stronger and you're not. So then you got to look at, is it time to change up your training routine? Do you need some active recovery? I talked about that last week. Do you need a different program? Because remember, your body is going to get used to whatever it is you're doing. If your goal, maybe you want to do 10 body weight push-ups on your toes. You're not getting any stronger, but you've been doing this routine for 6 months. Well, you may need a new upper body routine so you can build that strength to work toward that goal of doing 10 body weight push-ups on your toes. Whatever your goals are, it is not going to help you to be so sore that you can't walk for 4 days. So if your goal is to get stronger, you need consistent training. So if you're so sore that you can't get back into the gym for a week later, that doesn't help you. So maybe you have to dial back what you're doing each day so you can train more often. If your goal is to have more energy and you can't walk for 4 days, that's not helpful. If you want to look good and you are limping because you're so sore, that's not helpful. So the soreness may not be beneficial depending on what your goals are. I will preface this with saying if you are just getting started, you are going to be sore because everything is new to you. You have to stay consistent and keep going so you get past that initial phase of everything in your body is sore. So how do you deal with that? So if you are new or you overdid it one day, or maybe you have switched to a new workout regimen and you are feeling it, you are sore, what do you do? So number 1, hydrate. If you are not drinking enough water, you are going to feel that soreness so much more. And I tell you this all the time, especially if you're working out like on a Thursday or Friday and you're going to go to happy hour later, you're going to hate yourself the next day. Drinking alcohol after working out makes you so much sore the next day. It's super important to hydrate. Maybe you need to take some electrolytes after your workout or before bed, but you have to stay hydrated. I recommend 100 ounces of water. I have videos on hydration if you want to learn more about that. You have to move. So the thing that might make you sore, like say you do a strength training day or you're doing a TRX day or maybe go to Pilates or bar, all those reps in bar really make you sore. The next day, you have to move. Go to yoga, go for a walk, do cardio. If you sit around and do nothing, it's not going to help. It's going to make it worse. And one of the big reasons why it's helping is because when you're exercising and you're moving, you're getting the circulation in, so you're helping with that cleanup process, getting the blood flow and the circulation in, those white blood cells that are cleaning things up. You're getting out the byproducts, the junk, the waste, getting that all out. You can also foam roll. So foam rolling or using a lacrosse ball, again, helps to reduce muscle tension and to increase circulation and blood flow, as does massage, but you can do some self-massage, obviously, on different parts of your body. I love oil massage, Abhyanga, we call it in Ayurveda. But you could use the foam roller, you can use the lacrosse ball, but you've got to do something, absolutely. And if you are using the soreness as an indicator, reframe that. Look at your goals and if you're reaching your goals, and honestly, if the workouts are leading you towards your goals, whether that's getting stronger, having more energy, looking better, losing weight. It's not about the soreness. If you are not reaching your goals and you're not sore, then you may need to switch it up. You may need to do more weights, more reps, more intensity, more frequency. So you got to look at what it is you're doing or not doing and how that's affecting your goals. And that may seem confusing, but that's something I could definitely talk to you about. What's necessary to reach your goals, what you've been doing, and what you need to change up. So if you have a question about that, post it here. And if you have any questions about anything I talked about here, the soreness, the DOMs, the eccentric movements, post it here in the comments. I would love to clarify anything. How about the lactic acid? Is that new to you? Lactic acid is not what makes you sore when your muscles are hurting for days. It's not lactic acid in your muscles. Is that new? Have you heard that myth about drinking pickle juice or drinking vinegar to get rid of the lactic acid? That is not a thing. If you are sore, it is micro trauma in your muscles, and you've got to get moving. So you got to walk, do some cardio, stretch, foam roll, go to yoga to help get rid of that soreness. Maybe you need to not push it so hard, ease yourself into it. Maybe there was something you did that was just a little too much. But again, if you're new, a lot of things are going to be sore. You have to keep going and stay consistent so that your muscles adjust. You got to give your muscles a reason to make those changes. Give them some incentive. Let them know, hey, we're going to be doing this 3 times a week. Make those changes so we can get stronger. And that will happen. So it's all about consistency. So I look forward to hearing your questions. And if you have a suggestion or a question that you'd like me to talk about next week, post it here or send me a message anytime. And I will talk to you guys again real soon. All right, thanks. Bye.